Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Roundup. It's Bertram. I'm starting a few seconds a little bit early. That's probably not really early. It's probably on time, but I hate being late to things. It doesn't ever happen to you. You're kind of like just doing your thing and you've planned and you got everything. But especially if you have kids like myself, you tend to just drag behind a minute or two. So I wanted to go ahead and just get started, give a chance for viewers to come in and to join. On average, we probably have anywhere between 40 to 100 viewers live and countless people that have impressions. So if you're not too sure what impressions are or what that means, impression in internet terms is when somebody either clicks on, watches, views, pause, like whatever content you have on there, whether it's a picture, whether it's a video, a live stream like this, and we have thousands of impressions. So there are a lot of people that do happen to show interest. Maybe they want to turn the volume on, off, whatever the case may be. But we are glad to be here. It's been crazy. We have so many things in the lab that we're working on right now. And I can't wait to jump into more of that. But you know what? That's going to be to like mid-April. So I can't wait till that might happen. And then if we can, the second big thing we're working on, if that can also launch in May, I think a lot of folks are going to be talking about not just Bertram, but what Renown as a company and as a team as to how we see the future of coding. Because with AI and everything that's coming and the additional technologies, time is ticking. And I think a lot of people don't recognize that. Also, remote coding was a big thing, right? So, last, 15 or so years, recruiters like myself, we got a lot of hires because their employer was not, open to remote coding. So that was great. Could also pay them very well. Fantastic. Offering them benefits, even better. Long-term assignments, so the trifecta essentially. But then COVID happened. And if a facility or employer wasn't thinking about remote, they quickly got the brief as to how it works. But one of the after effects of that is the siloedness that we have within not just healthcare, but across all industries. And how, I don't know, I just feel like the common pleasantries that you'd get at a restaurant or from the host at a restaurant, as an example, have truly gone out of the door. Probably they feel like, they should just appreciate me being here, whatever the case may be. But some of the hospitality you used to get in customer service has definitely gone outside the window. And I think we have essentially disconnected. We've been so siloed. We've been so locked in place, whatever. Don't talk to anybody. Don't even call people. And maybe that's one of the after effects of being remote. Have you ever thought, hey, the ability to be remote is fantastic, but has my social interactions reduced? Or am I just avoiding social interactions even when I'm out or when I'm social? So that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have the Roundup, but it's not going to be the one all solve all, but we are going to be launching some things that's going to have more collaboration from all forms of the chain, not just from a vendor standpoint, but also in collaborations. I mean, I was even at a conference and the CDI team member had a question and wanted to really check on how the thought process of the coder, because they have their coding credentials as well, but they're working in CDI. And when they looked at the chart and what was coded, there were tons of errors. So she wanted to have a conversation with the coder. So she calls the coder like, hey, what's going on? How are you doing? Cool. Could you kind of explain to me what's in this chart? Because I'm seeing a lot of errors. I want to see if we kind of have the same language and have the same expectations. Not really calling the person out, more calling them up and saying, hey, from a CDI perspective, this is what I see. But she was quickly reprimanded, like, you do not talk to the coders. And she's like, what are you talking about? What, CDI and coders can't speak? Like, are we is this like North versus South again? Like, what's going on? And they were like, no, just do not talk to them because they get very offended and I'm going to have issues. And it's like, so you want them to continue doing things incorrectly. And if it was us that was doing things incorrectly, do you not want us to connect with our same team members? We're not talking about a vendor to a healthcare facility employee. We're talking hospital employee to hospital employee at the same hospital. Do not talk to your coworkers. That is crazy. And I still can't figure it out. I mean, I think even if there's going to be a squabble, what do we do back in the day? We used to let the boys, usually the boys, go to the playground, fight. Like, argue, like do what you got to do. And once you get out of your system, guess what? They can be best buddies, you know? But we're saying, you know what, just so we don't have a conflict, let's just not have any conflict, but let's not have any resolution. And that's where the learning opportunity is. And it's really eye-opening because everything that I have to go through with my children is all about, well, you had a disagreement with a child or with a teacher or whatever. How can we resolve it? How can we be better? But as adults, we're saying we should not even have the conflict or, you know, the pushback because we just don't even want to have anything or any resolutions or an opportunity to come closer together. I don't know. I'm just really scratching my head as to how not just healthcare, but how the world has become. And I really think that we should probably go back, probably pre-pandemic, and really see how we were working together. And even if you had an issue or difficulty, can you do that professionally? Because that's another thing. You know, we had an employee that was doing it very unprofessionally, so we had to call her out and say, "Hey, like, what are you planning to do?" Well, guess what? The person that you just yelled at via email, they're actually like the head honcho and CDI at the facility. She, how can I say, she adjusted her attitude very quickly. And, you know, anyway, it just healthcare is, and especially healthcare, because we work in healthcare, is really shocking to me. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about the Roundup. And you know what? I can't even really keep track as to how many people have gotten jobs as to just some of the information that we've shared, because you know what's so funny? They will start jobs and they won't even tell us. I just saw one today, somebody that's usually on the Roundup, you know, every single week. Haven't seen her in a couple weeks. And I saw an update from a week ago that I missed, that she actually got hired as her first coding job, right? And I was like, fantastic, congratulations. How did I miss this? I was probably traveling when she posted it, and that's fine. But it's like, they're not telling us. So it's really hard for us to keep track of that. And I don't just want to include them in, but I do know that this is making a difference. I am very excited to be here today, if you can tell, as I'm usually am, because, I mean, we just have a lot of things going on. Christine Hall is on the other side, so she'll be joining us in a few minutes. But yeah, let me get into the comments. And just as a disclaimer, unfortunately, not all of your comments will come through. I'm so sorry about that, but I'll try my best to go between the platform that we're using to stream as well as LinkedIn to bring it all together. I'll try my best to highlight your comments. So please tell us where you're from. I'm currently in Clearwater, Florida, and it is warm. The humidity has come back. I think today we're going to have highs around like 78, 80 degrees, but it feels like 85, 90. And we've had to have the AC on for the past couple of days because it just gets so humid. What happens when you build, you know, or your state, it was half of it was like a swamp many years ago. It just happens. But we also have a lot of contacts that are in Florida. Okay, so let's go. So we have Christy that says hello. She can't wait to hear Christine speak. What about Bertram? I guess Bertram's just here. I'm just a host. And you know what? I like that because it's definitely not about me. You know, this is not for me. This is all about the speakers and, you know, some of the value and insights that they're bringing to the table. So thank you, Christy, for saying that. Maud, hello, hello, hello. We have on YouTube. Okay, so someone is excited to see you here. Thank you. Where's Ida? I don't see her. I don't see her comments. Where is she? Is she here? I need to go to LinkedIn. I need to find her. Because Ida's usually here. We may have to tag her. Thank you for this event. Thank you for attending. Victoria, it's been a little while. Good afternoon. How are you doing? LinkedIn user. So this might happen if this person is watching us from their LinkedIn feed. So you can listen in, but for some reason, it may not show you attending. So if you are on the feed, try not to watch it on the feed. Try to click in and join the event. Well, Bertram, I want to do like, what is it? I want to do like LinkedIn stuff. I want to connect with people, right? Fantastic. It's called open another tab or another window, and you can just listen to the Roundup, I believe, in the background. Something about when something's on your feed, you need to be actively on the feed. When it's like YouTube style, a video like this, it should play and you should still be able to listen, even if it's not your active window or tab, if that makes sense. But try it out. If it doesn't work, let me know. You're in Atlanta. I'm going to be there in a couple of weeks. Fantastic. Ocala, Florida. Hey, see you. Yida got a job? No, come on. Did she? And she wasn't the person that I was referring to. But please let me know, Christy. Okay. John, hello, hello, gentlemen. How are you doing, sir? You were a former guest on the Roundup. Definitely looking forward to you being here on season 2. And let's go ahead and get started. So why did we have the Roundup? Why are we all here? We're all here because we're trying to find an easier way for us to network and just get together and learn more about revenue cycle. Whether you're a candidate, an employee, an employer, a vendor, a subject matter expert, what is a good way for us to get together than these on Wednesdays or on lunchtime? And I know that's not the best opportune time. We're looking for season 2 after April to probably have some evening sessions, but that is not in stone. So that's kind of like the thought process. I've heard a lot of positive feedback about that, but we will see how it goes. Okay. And yeah, we share open jobs and opportunities. I'm going to talk about a question that I've gotten. The question that I had today came in this morning. So I got that question and I'm going to share it here with you live. And Christy did confirm that you did get a coding position. Fantastic. Like, how long did that take her? She was active on social. And that's what I'm telling people. If you're looking for a job, and that's a question we're going to have on the roundup for the Ask Mr. B section. If I'm an entry-level coder, what should I do to get hired? And we're going to talk about that today. That's going to be a little bit later. Okay. All right. So we're going to have an opportunity, or you're going to have an opportunity to share if you're open for opportunities. We do have recruiters and hiring managers that view the roundups. So I see this only sent to YouTube. So let me go to the roundup on LinkedIn. I'm going in there and I'm going to put in a format. This format is what I call a sizzle. A sizzle is essentially what we used to call in recruiting and staffing, something to allow you to kind of like abbreviate your experience in your resume. Of course, we don't want you to copy and paste your resume in the, in the comments. Is going to cut it off actually. But if you just happen to share, let's say your name, your background, your location, that's very important. Let's say your email address, at least allow people to message you directly, right? Or hire managers message you directly. Let me change this format so it's a little bit easier to see, sorry. And even if you're, let's say, a subject matter expert or a vendor that wants to like showcase what you're doing and how you can help people, put that in the comments. And then towards the back, I'm going to go through from the front, and I can only do the comments that show. As a disclaimer, I said earlier, not all the comments show, but we're going to go through the comments and we'll highlight those people that are either looking for jobs and opportunities or vendors, employers that are offering their services. Even if you're an employer, hey, I'm looking for this, that's fine. Put that in the comments, and if it's live, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go ahead and share that. Okay. All right. So our little agenda. So we're learning not just about telemedicine coding from Christine, but also just talk about her journey and all the things. Because I was talking to her before this as our little briefing and audio video test, and there's a lot of things that she does within her organization. So she's going to be able to tell us about that. We'll share open jobs and opportunities. I believe I have 5 of those today. The Ask Mr. B question, candidate showcase. I'm going to go back from the front of the comments, and anybody that's open for an opportunity wants to put their information out there, we're going to have that on there, and then open networking at the end. Okay. All right. And if you're not seeing the format that I put for the candidate showcase on your feed, feel free to refresh the event and you should see it in the comments. But I put it on 2 ways. So it's there on YouTube as well as is there on LinkedIn. All right. So a brief introduction to Christine. So she has quite a bit of years, over 30 years in health information. She's a certified coder, and she brings her expertise in compliance coding and practice management. Former AAPC Billing Advisory Committee chair and seasoned educator. So you can look back at her LinkedIn stuff and just go back like 16 or so positions. She's done a lot. She's been in education a lot. She's worked at this firm. She's had this firm. And I was interesting, Christine, we were talking a little bit earlier, and I did see that you did, or maybe you had more of a more specialized firm that was doing a lot more billing work, right? So, you know, you've really done it all, not just worked as an employee as a coder, right? But you've really done a lot of things. She's proficient in ethics, regulatory affairs, and more. Subject matter expert, collaborates with top healthcare organizations on her podcast, Coding with Christine Hall. And extremely popular. And if you're not a follower of Christine, definitely send her a follow, send her a connection request, tell her that you saw her on the roundup and she made a smart decision to come. She told me, she said, Bertram, I've been waiting to come. I was like, fantastic. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. So I'm going to bring to the forefront Miss Christine Hall. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, I think you're on mute.
I actually have a coffee cup that says that, like, you're on mute. I'm so glad to be here, Bertram. Thank you so much for having me. Like I said, I have wanted to come on, and I'm glad to be here today on the Roundup. Amazing. And I learned a little bit about you too, as you were opening up the Roundup and talking with everyone. And you have some really amazing um, connections that you're making with everyone through this Roundup.
Yes.
So thank
Yes.
you. Thank you
Yes.
very
Yes.
much.
And one of my big things is I love to cheer for the underdog because isn't that just America's story? You know, think about the Sandlot. You remember the Sandlot, the movie?
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
the kids are gonna play with the kids that have all the uniforms and all the cleats and stuff, and they have like old sneakers and all this stuff, and they're just trying their best. And just from that, who are you cheering for? The kids
Oh,
at
I'm
the
sure.
Sandlot. You know,
Yeah,
we're just
absolutely.
always going for the underdog. And as much as I would climb in my career, I then again reinvent myself so then I am again the underdog. I mean, even for now, in terms of our company size, we're less than 10 people. But you know what? I love it because
That's
I
awesome.
know, like, I'm looking at the big guys and I'm like, I'm going to make you guys shake in your boots. Watch, like, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, come mid to that third week in April, watch. Watch. We are going to be, I'm not just going to be
I
calling
believe it.
people out, I'm going to be calling people up and we're going to be speaking about it. A lot of things are going to change from then. But I just appreciate having you here and thank you for coming. Christine has done a lot. She knows a lot. I mean, everybody that you've really been connected to and work with on a, professional basis. I'm talking about Kimberly Williams, right? I'm talking about you went on the cruise with her. I'm talking about Soniel. I'm talking about Betty. There's like all these
It's a
people that
pleasure.
like we've known a lot of the same people, and I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I need to get Christine on because you ladies do these things together, and she'd be
You
fantastic.
reminded me that we met a couple of years ago at a conference here in Florida, the Florida
Yes, we
Edema
did.
Conference. So that's right.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did. Yes, we did. And it's so interesting because one of the things I love about video, it it's like it's hard to fake it on video. I know the actors and stuff. I'm not an actor, right? But when you can really have a connection with somebody and see the white of their eyes and
Mhm.
find out really what they're about and why they're doing something, it really shows. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. So let's go back,
Okay.
way back when. All right. How did you first get started within revenue cycle and within medical coding?
Yeah, that's, I think I was just born into this industry. I started way, way back in 1988, and I started in the business office of a hospital. So
Okay.
I was recording the payments that were coming in on a giant pegboard. Now, let me tell you what a pegboard is, because you probably don't know, but it is a board that has carbon copy sheets. And as you write, it absorbs through those carbon copies and it creates duplicates.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
okay. And then I would write all the payments that came in and itemize them out for each patient, much like we do now, or like the auto post does for us now. I was the
Hmm.
OG auto poster. Um, and then we would send it off, and data entry would enter that into the computer. And the computer was about the size of my living room in 88. I know, right?
Yes.
But the biggest thing about that was I got to see some of the denials. And I started asking questions.
Mm.
Why was this denied? Why wouldn't they pay for this? What would be the reason? And I started looking and researching, and it was really awesome. I got it. I started thinking, well, if we resolve the problem, then we won't see these types of denials anymore. So from there,
Mm.
exploded. It went from there to, practice management. And then, like you said, I had an opportunity to own my own billing company. I bought an established practice and I ran that for about 17 years. So I had a
Wow.
chance to see the evolution of revenue cycle, I like to say, um, during that period of time.
Wow. 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 And how do you find yourself serving a lot of your clients today with your services?
So we kind of, the billing company at some point became, um, it was a very successful company, and I didn't get an opportunity to really work with providers and with people. And education has always been my passion. So I
Mm.
sold that company and went into consulting. Consulting allowed me to teach at the universities. It allowed me to teach for AAPC. It allowed me to go into a practice and teach them how to be successful, how to put some key programs in place, some policies, procedures, educate the staff so that they
Hmm.
could continue on being successful.
True.
Rather than being one person in one office, as a consultant, I get to go into multiple offices
True.
and give that type of assistance.
Correct. Correct. So you're seeking a way that you can better work with and serve, and not necessarily have a conflict, because that's how it
Correct.
can usually be proposed. Well, let's say you're working for a provider's office or a hospital. Can you just go into another hospital and help them? Like, no, you can't do that.
You
Like,
can't have
you don't.
competition.
You can't even ask for permission. You'll get you get no even on your way there. Kind of, like, don't even ask. Like, whatever. But it's very interesting that you said that you came through the business office, and me
Mhm.
working with a lot of the hospitals and the clients that we're working with. I've realized that there is a business office and at the hospital. And this
There is.
office isn't exactly medical records. It isn't exactly the coding department, but they're kind of off to the side, and the billers might be there, but they definitely work with a lot of the denials and researching why and following through as to that. And as you said, it may be somebody coming from more of a business mind as to
Mhm.
why these things happening, but they're also collaborating with, whether that be doctors, the coders,
Yeah.
CFO. They're kind of like all in a lot of those very important meetings. And somebody could always say, well, hey, if I'm doing this and if I'm seeing this, why don't I do this? What about entrepreneurship for you? I mean, do you think that was something that was rather natural in your progression in your career, or was that something that you've always been? Because you did say that you were working in the business office as an employee for the hospital at one time.
So I started off as an employee,
Hmm.
and the problem that happens sometimes as an employee is that they hire you to do this job, and you want to do this job.
Hmm.
And that's what entrepreneurship allows us to do, is to expand into some of those other roles and those other experiences that we want to
Hmm.
do. It's not for everybody. It's
Correct.
more work than you can imagine. I have, my children are Gen Zers and millennials, and they will come to me sometimes and go, "Mom, but you work like so many hours. You could just have a regular job where you have 40 hours and you move on at the end of the day." Um, Maybe I'm just not cut for that. I love what I do. So the
Correct.
hours, I don't count them. And I know a lot of
Correct.
entrepreneurs are like that. We don't count the hours because we love what we do.
That's
So
true.
that's where I found my comfort, was in that world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And as you said, it's actually, like, let's say you're going to have a compliance and coding education company, right? You will
Mhm.
probably spend 90% of your time not on that. It's gonna be whether that be payroll or,
Right.
taxes or balancing your books or the website, or, hey, you want to hire somebody and doing all those regulatory things. And
Mhm.
now, as a vendor, you also need vendors. You need somebody to help you
Right.
out, let's say with HR or with payroll or whatever the case may be. It's like, oh, I have to go and check out banks. So you got to go to the different
Yeah.
banks. You got to find out which one's the best for you, and then they have to run everything, let's say, on your credit. And then they're like, well, now we need your resume. And I'm like, what? I thought I was done with this resume stuff. Nope, we need your resume because we need to know what you do. You end up spending a lot of time on other
And that
things.
resume,
Hmm.
Bertram, is not just the banks, but that resume is with potential clients. It's
Correct.
with litigators that you might work with. It's with educational establishments. Even as a speaker, sometimes they will
Correct.
ask to see our resume. The resume is so important, and it's important to tell that story about you and your experiences, and to shed light on your skill set. Your
Correct.
what you bring to the table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, I have a question to kind of go off on a tangent just for a quick second, because we have a lot of entry level folks that will watch this episode, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about resumes all of the time. And I definitely do, usually in the Mr. B section. But are there some gaps? And I'm sure you've seen some resumes as of recent, or applicants, or people that are reaching out to you. Can you help me with an
Mhm.
opportunity? What are some common mistakes in regards to resumes folks are making that they don't even happen to realize?
I think that they undervalue themselves sometimes on their
Mm,
resumes. When you talk about a gap, someone might say, well, I took 4 years off to stay home with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's loaded. Listen, I survived 5 children. So
Wow.
just to stay home with your kids, that's time management. That's you have to learn how to manage your team there,
Mm-hmm.
because everybody wants your attention all at once. I think that people in resumes, they don't know how to add that value of what it is that they actually have done, either during those gap
Correct.
periods or when you work for a company. I don't want to see what your job description was. Tell me what was some of the highlights of working for that company. What were some
Correct.
of the big achievements that you did? Um,
Correct.
One resume I looked at said that they had successfully worked an appeal and were able to get $20,000 for a procedure that had been denied. That's impressive. That
Correct.
to me is very impressive, more than, you know how to operate the copy machine. Okay. But you did that appeal, that's massive. That should be on your resume. That I want to
Correct.
see.
And that's what they want to see. And you know what? You want to have a resume that's going to bring up questions, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. What? I saw that you worked this appeal. What happened? Well, we didn't have somebody in the office, and I asked for permission, and I stepped up and I researched and I went through the process. First time it was denied, I didn't have the right form. You want to
Mhm.
have things that are going to bring up questions from the interviewer to ask you, for them to realize that you're bringing a lot more to the table than just what you're being hired for. And as Christine is saying, it's probably not the best idea just to take your job description or what they hired you for and copy and paste that. You should be able to translate that into what you did. And it could even be, hey, I coded inpatient records, but I constantly had this accuracy, this production. I
Right.
had average, clearing rate of this much. When I was first hired, the DNFB was this high. We brought it this low. I also trained new coder. Like, you want to be able to tell a story. And that's why I always tell people, stories is the way that people will remember you, not just that you have 3 years of experience in these
Mhm.
credentials. Fantastic. But even in your credentials, hey, I got these credentials while I was employed here. Wow, how did you do that? Well, you know what I did? I signed up and I had to study. Like, you want to be able to have those stories, and that's how they can relate to you. Because if
Mhm.
everybody, let's say Christine, you have your own business, if you had
Mhm.
5 candidates with 3+ years experience, or whatever it was, 3 months of experience, right?
Right.
What's the differentiator? Who is behind those resumes? That's what you are always going to
Absolutely.
dive into as a business
Yeah,
owner.
absolutely. And I want to remind everyone that asking questions is the cornerstone of becoming successful in any role that you have.
Mm,
I teach a lot. I teach for APC. I teach for University, Florida Atlantic University here in Florida. And the one thing that I tell students from the beginning throughout the entire course: ask questions. You are never going to know everything. This industry changes so often, so frequently. The
correct.
only way you're going to be proficient is to continue to ask those questions. It doesn't make you look like you don't know what's going on. Trust me when I tell you that the leaders in our industry, we all reach out to each other and ask questions when, regardless if you should have known this or maybe you have known this, if it escapes your mind, we reach out, we network with each other. And I have the utmost respect for anybody that continues to ask questions. So
Correct.
if I can just get one message out there, it would be: keep asking questions. You're never going to know everything. Keep asking.
Correct. I mean, and even if you, let's say you don't happen to ask a question, right? So you don't ask a question. So how are
Mhm.
you working or operating? You're operating or working based upon either your own analysis or assumptions. And we all know what happens when you work with assumptions. Or you can start something and then, have any of you had the situation that you're doing something even at home, and somebody in your household, a coworker or whatever, said, "Well, I already did that." And you're like, "Oh, okay. Well, you didn't know, but at the same time, you didn't ask."
In our
Like,
house, it's, did you feed the dogs? Because they lie. They always come up like, we're starving, we haven't had dinner yet. And yeah, so we have to ask that question every night. Very important. But
yeah,
yeah, you don't
that's a,
know if
that's a
somebody.
gem right there. That's a gem right there. Always asking questions. And even for us, whenever we're working with either our hospitals or provider groups, what do we have to do? we have to have our questionnaires, and then even that we have to clarify through discovery, and then we have to ask questions through audits or having access and kind of looking around and
Mhm.
verifying and asking and verifying. That's how you're really able to come to terms with what is really happening. Think of like being a detective. You're not just going to look at the evidence and say, okay, he or she did it. Ask questions. When did they arrive? Well, if this person died and they weren't here, how does that even work? We have to ask those questions. Can't just be, oh well, they're the first person here, so they must have done it. And I think a lot
That
of
would be
folks
awful.
are working upon just having those assumptions. Fantastic. So tell me a little bit about the telemedicine, because I wanted to ask you about that, because I'm not saying that telemedicine is new. I actually know a former colleague of mine. He was working for a firm that was now acquired by a bigger firm. Of course, that's how it usually works. But they were doing telemedicine, and they're hiring doctors and interpreters in different languages because it wasn't just a US thing. And they were getting a great response. But then come COVID, guess what? If you weren't open to remote, now we're going to have this little thing called telemedicine. And then, of course, I'm not too sure. Maybe you can help us figure out. I don't even know. Like, did we have telemedicine codes before 2020? How does that work essentially? And I believe we're all talking about, so telemedicine meaning, from the comfort of your home or
Mhm.
telephone, you can have a conversation and maybe very generic and basic conversations with a doctor, or maybe, I mean, I've even heard of equipment or some type of system could be at your house. Let's say it's a blood pressure gauge, for example, and
Mhm.
with the doctor being present via telephone, whatever, you're then checking that with them and giving them the reading and answering those questions. But how does that really work in regards to into coding?
Oh, it's funny that you mentioned that. So I have been involved with telehealth, the South Florida, or the Southeastern region telehealth resource center for about 7 going on 8 years now. So
Wow.
way before COVID. Um, and and between you and me, I fell in love with telehealth on a Saturday
Hmm.
morning when I was a kid watching the Jetsons. I thought that was super cool. I don't even know if you know who the Jetsons are, but that's
I
okay.
do.
It
I
was an
do.
awesome, awesome cartoon, my favorite.
I know who the
Um,
Flintstones are too.
I don't know how they were related, but somehow there was a anyway. So telehealth, yes, you're right. Telehealth goes back way before the public health emergency, before our pandemic. It's just
Hmm.
that during the pandemic, a lot of insurances started reimbursing telehealth. Prior to that, telehealth
Mm.
may be something you paid cash for. So my kids, as they became adults, they didn't have time to go to the doctor, and they have primarily lived in a virtual world, but they paid cash for it. So they didn't mind paying that $55, $75 for a virtual visit way back before the public health emergency. And very much the same thing. I know of specialists that would do telehealth services and send a kit to the patient's house prior to
Mhm.
the visit. That kit would have a stethoscope that transmitted the sounds from the stethoscope to the remote provider, the otoscopes that they could look from a remote provider into a patient's ear. But
Wow.
all of that cool stuff, but it changed with the public health emergency because again, we now we have providers that are going to pay for, I mean, payers that are going to pay for this service. And
Mhm.
Medicare did pay for telehealth, but it was a totally different type of visit. You had to go to another doctor's office or a clinic or a hospital in order to have that service reimbursed. So it wasn't like they could be
Mm.
sitting in their home. COVID made it so that we could be sitting on our home and having telehealth visits. And there's still a few things. This year, AMA in the CPT manual gave us some when to do telehealth visits, when to not do telehealth visits.
Okay.
And we got to remember that the visit itself has to be medically necessary for someone to pay that bill. So
Mm.
are we going to see benefits from it? Is the patient going to, are we going to improve a condition? Are we going to
Mhm.
manage a condition via this type of modality? Even for value based reimbursement, we can have face to face visits like you and I are doing right now and have
Correct.
those diagnoses accepted for value-based reimbursement. So we've
Mhm.
come a long way. We have about 17, I think, new codes. Don't quote me on that, but 17 new codes that the AMA will be releasing next year specific
Oh,
for telehealth. And that's going to make telehealth services a lot easier for billing and reimbursement.
correct, correct, correct.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. Now, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there an executive order for, I don't remember exactly which branch it came from, but I believe there was an executive order to allow telehealth services to be either billed or even the government was going to carry it, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever it was. And then that was upon renewal, I think it was in 2022, and it got renewed. And then I
Well,
believe, correct me, go ahead.
that's okay. So during the public health emergency, what Congress did was
Hmm.
they said, we're going to enact a portion of the Social Security Act called the 1135 waiver. It's been in the Social Security Act for a really long time. And what that waiver allows is that certain requirements of payment can be waived during times where we're having emergencies, right? That can
Okay,
be invoked. So that's what happened in 2020, the 1135 section of the Social Security Act, allowing us to waive certain requirements of payment, like being at another physician's office to receive telehealth.
okay.
Um, those requirements were waived, and even in 2022, Congress in the Consolidated Appropriations Act said, you know what? We've seen such a change in mental health that's provided via telehealth that we're going to make permanent changes to telemental health. So people with
Mm,
mental health conditions and substance abuse disorders, they can receive telehealth services from now on permanently from their home, right? That's
nice.
not a problem. But we still haven't officially changed some of the Medicare requirements for reimbursement for telehealth. We're still waiving those requirements even after the public health emergency.
Okay,
And what a lot of us think in the industry is that with the new codes coming out in 25, we're going to get new guidance, new policy, official
mm,
policy, not just some waived requirements from Congress, but some really new staples of how we do telehealth. It's not going away. We can't put the genie back in the bottle. We've all had
correct.
telehealth services. There's
Good
so much
job.
benefit to it, but we do need some guidance to make sure that we're doing it correctly and getting
Correct.
reimbursed correctly.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Because just something that I thought of, and thank you. See, that's why we bring specialists to the roundup.
Mhm.
Because Bertram doesn't know what he's talking about. But I just remember seeing headlines. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And some of my former colleagues, as I mentioned, they're posting about it because based upon those decisions, I mean, their business model could fall under them. But it was like,
Absolutely.
no, it's being extended, and now we're now getting official reports, and that's fantastic because we also have a new pandemic, I would say, on some of the more rural or remote
Hmm.
facilities. Maybe they've had to pay up the wazoo to get the right staff, and now they've been bleeding and they're in the red, and that's not good. They're not profitable, and some of these facilities are closing. So what do you do with the population that might be aged or doesn't have the ability, or it is not close to a facility, or that facility that was close to them, or the doctors that are close to them is no
Hmm.
longer there? Now, telehealth could be a bridge for some of those individuals, right? I'm not saying
Absolutely.
it's not going to fix everything, but it can be the bridge. Um,
We still need some face-to-face in-office visits. There's still
correct.
some, if I fracture my arm, you can't fix that via telehealth. Right? I need an
Not there
X-ray,
just
I
yet.
need a cast, I need those things still. So,
Yeah.
but some of the other things, like I'm sure you've got kids, Bertram. If you've ever picked them up after school and someone's burning with a fever, what do you
Hmm.
do? Do you try to get them into an urgent care? Do you go to the ED? Maybe if your provider has after hour telehealth, you can bring your baby home, get them into the bed, have that telehealth visit with the provider. Here's their temperature. Here's, take a look at my child, breathe, see they've got, the nose thing happening, whatever it is. And they
Yes.
can make that assessment. Um, I think that there's a lot of benefits that we have now become accustomed to that we just
Correct.
are not going to go backwards.
Yeah. And it's we do have two children in our household, so you know the ear infections and
Mhm.
how like one will catch the cold and then the other will catch the cold and then like you have to go through this big questionnaire before every single visit. I mean it's eventful. I didn't understand because I didn't have children, so I didn't understand why my coworkers were out the whole day when their kid got sick. But
Right.
after you have kids and they get sick, you gotta realize like your whole world shuts down, and it's unfortunate. But I do appreciate you and our viewers. Like if we have to cancel an episode because I just can't be there, believe me, it's not because I didn't want to be there. But if they get sick and if I get sick and if we can't really be productive, that's a different issue. But
Yeah.
yeah, things could be easier. And what is sometimes frustrating for me as a parent is that, hey, my child got his, let's say, my son this year he broke his arm this school year at a
Mm.
birthday party, the first birthday party of the year. Yay, broke his arm. I'm like, okay, cool. But it was on a Saturday. And by the time we
Right.
really figured out that it was broken, it was like midday Saturday. So anyone that was open on Saturday was essentially closed. So we had two options. Could we find an urgent care or could we somewhat go to an ED? And I probably should have gone to the ED, but also like I wasn't even afraid of the bill, to be honest with you. But I'm just like, do you have to go to the ED for a broken arm? Is this what healthcare has come to? And I was trying to find what is it, providers in our network for urgent care. I didn't really have anyone close, so we took him to someone first thing the next morning. Great thing I was able to get him to a what is it, an X-ray that same day. But then again, all the orthopedics they're closed until Monday,
Well,
and
we're
I
pretty
just
lucky in our area. We've got a few urgent care orthopedics that are strictly orthopedic groups that have urgent care 7 days a week. So,
please
and I
open a
only know this because
location
I'm
in
an orthopedic nightmare,
yes.
absolutely. But but we're starting to see different types
Hmm.
of medicine out there. That's a very unique thing, urgent care for orthopedics.
Yeah. And now I saw something on LinkedIn. I'm sure anyone else here might have seen this as well. So, some of those physician practices were being bought up by some of the large health systems. All right. Okay, cool. But now, how are you going to see your Dr. Smith? Dr. Smith is now at the hospital. Okay, cool. I'll go see Dr. Smith. So you schedule to see Dr. Smith. He's in the outpatient center of the hospital. So you go
Mhm.
in and you see Dr. Smith and everything's fine. And now they are getting surprise hospital charges because now it's not Dr. Smith in the little office that was way offside, not at the hospital. Now you're getting hospital charges because Dr. Smith is essentially, I mean, let's just call it as it is. He's now an employee of the hospital. He doesn't really have any say, and the hospital can charge what they want for that room, even if it's less than an hour, and all of those things. So now that is like a new thing that's coming within healthcare,
Mhm.
and that is even an interesting thing because it was even expensive to see Dr. Smith at his old office location. Now he's at the hospital, and you might as well have slept there because it might have been cheaper, but now there are these surprise bills, and
Yeah.
that is even something. Wow. Yeah,
Absolutely. It's the business of medicine is complex for
it is very
sure.
complex. It is very
Mhm.
complex. Are there any trends or any things that you're assisting your clients with as of recent that you like to get the word out? Because we were talking before the roundup started, and you said, you really don't feel like a lot of people are trying their best to be negligent. It's just that they truly, honestly don't know. It's one of the reasons why I love the associations that we have because with the continuing education and with them bringing you into other groups of people, you're able to
Mhm.
have discussions and hopefully through natural osmosis and also just you trying to better yourself as a professional, you're learning along the way. You're not just getting trained in 88 and then you're doing the same thing since 88, right? You're
Oh my
updating and
gosh,
you're learning. But what are some
right?
recent trends you've seen?
Well, I think the one thing that I will share is that we are seeing audits today for things that happened 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I hear a lot of, well, we didn't know. It's
Mhm.
kind of our job to know, guys. And we're not going to see somebody come back tomorrow and say you did this wrong today. Um, we're going to see it 2 or 3 years down the road, and by
Mm.
that time, we've already developed some bad habits, and it could be very costly to go back and fix those bad habits. and I'm not just talking about overpayments, but if you've got to educate staff, if you've got to turn around in staff, that is one of the most costly things, is that turnaround in staff. Um,
True.
it's better now to be providing education. I do a
Hmm.
lot of work in compliance. I want to remind people that compliance is not that office on the sixth floor, or that outside agency that comes in and does whatever it is they do. Compliance is making sure that we're doing the right thing. And the
Correct.
only way that you know you're doing the right thing is not because you haven't been fired or because your boss said so. It's because you've taken the time to educate yourself, and educate yourself on those services that we provide in our organization. So I
Hmm.
often say, you've got to get involved. Don't just be that coder that reports that one code all the time. Make sure you're going to the payer policies, you're reviewing those policies. Did we meet the indications in order to assign that code? Maybe the
Mm.
documentation is there that might support the code, but did we meet the indications for the payer to pay for it? Make sure that you're educating yourself, asking questions.
Correct.
Where can I find the most up-to-date policy on this? Or where can I find our compliance guidance or our internal policy on this? Um, I think that is probably the best thing that I can share with people. And if you don't know, and you don't have that at work, you don't have that in your organization, then reach out to Bertram, reach out to myself, reach out to Victoria
Correct.
Mall, reach out to Betty Hovey, reach out to, Sonal Patel, reach out to all of these people that have been in the industry. And one more thing, Bertrand, I'll tell you, we're all very friendly, and we want to share this
Yes.
information with you.
Yes.
So
Yes. If you can find a friendly person in compliance, get their cell phone number, send them birthday cards, because I've worked with compliance people and we were on the same team, but they didn't act like we're on the same team. And it was really sad because it was a
mhm,
breakdown, I think, just in the teams. Like almost, I feel like they looked at us as, well, you guys hire all the problems that we have to deal with. But then we're also like, well, could you help us learn what are the issues you're dealing with so we can screen for some of those?
right?
And it all came from leadership, so we'll just blame it on another person that's not here to defend themselves. But if you can find the person or a friendly resource that can help point you in the right direction, it's fantastic. And as I talked again about silos, your whole team can be siloed at the facility. It could be
Yeah,
you, the other 9 or 10 coders, and your managers. But if of the 10 or 11 of you, if all of you are not also trying to go to the market and figure out, you know what, we've been using this code for a very long time. Is this the most up-to-date code? Is there a code that we can, or is there a way for us to get better reimbursement? Or is this just standard? I mean, what should we do? And if you're not having those checks and balances with a compliance
mhm,
expert at least every year, there could be hundreds, if not millions of dollars that you could be leaving on the table. Or vice versa. You could be overcharging, still getting paid, and then it could come back as a bill, or or not having stuff paid to you, and that's another compliance issue. And you know what the
yeah,
feds do? Once the feds start looking around, then they're really going to dive in deep, and they're going to look around. Look what happened to P. Diddy Combs. It's so crazy because I watched this guy in the 90s, right? I was dancing to his music. And now when the feds raided him, they raided Miami, LA, and he's like in the jet in the air somewhere. Like, they came strong, and things can change that fast. No shade at P. Diddy, innocent until proven guilty. I don't know, but the whole point is,
but
it's
again,
always
it took
best to check.
time. It didn't happen overnight, Bertram.
That's
Like,
true.
all of those investigations, all of that, it's not something you're going to see today. It's something
Correct.
that's gonna happen down the road, and what I'm seeing right now is they're looking at services that were provided in 2000, in 2019, and like you said, once they start looking, there's
Yeah.
more. There's always more. So
Correct.
again, we need to make sure that we're involved, that we stay in that idea of evolution. We need to ask questions. We need to constantly be looking and make sure, not that you think you're doing the right thing, make sure you're doing the right thing.
Wow. Is there any last comments that you'd like to say before we close you out for the roundup? Thank you again for being here today.
Oh, it was my pleasure. My pleasure. Watch out for great things in telemedicine. in the future coming up over the next few months. Make sure that you're paying attention to those and keep asking questions.
Fantastic. Is there anyone that comes to mind besides yourself as a subject matter expert with telemedicine or telehealth medical coding or billing?
Well, Terry Fletcher has absolutely,
She
she's in
has.
California. They have been using telehealth out in California much more proactively, probably over the last 20 years. So I have an opportunity to work with Terry a lot on telehealth. So I think she's probably one of the many, Betty Hovey, Sona Patel, Victoria Mall, like all of the people that we work with in our industry. Um, they're heavy hitters with telehealth as well. So
Yeah.
and
I
and
have
I know
to
there's so many more out there that I'm forgetting, but and you know who you are. Chime in, guys. There's a lot of us out there that have this knowledge that we'd love to share.
yes, I have seen Terry's stuff on telemedicine and telehealth.
Hmm.
And I need to get back in Terry's good graces. We had a conversation. She was introduced to me by someone, I forget who it was, and I don't think I I don't think I had a good impression. I don't know. Hey, I'm not saying anything bad about Terry. Actually, it was good because it really helped me to look within myself. But this is a long time ago. This is
You know,
years
I don't
ago.
know about that. I've not heard anything like that, and I'll tell you that she is she has such an embracing personality that she
Hmm.
really does respect everyone in this industry. I talk to Terry all the time, and I have never gotten the vibe of anybody, but that's funny that you mentioned that.
I think you may want to put a good word in for me. I need to have I need to catch up with her and see where she's at. She'll probably be a good person to be on the
She
roundup if
would.
she's available.
I'm
She'd
sure
be
she'd love
probably a
to.
fantastic person. But yeah, it's good. Hey, you know what, Christine? Thank you again for being here today. We really
My
appreciate
pleasure.
you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're not already following Christine Hall, please do send her a nice little welcome, a shout out. And that's an amazing thing. As you will see her podcast, you can follow, learn a lot more. I think there's a big opportunity for those who are still here. Okay. If you're still here on the roundup, you are an OG. Okay. Here's something Bertram's going to tell you, a secret. Okay. You might want to get specialized within telemedicine. Can you imagine? Yeah, we're thinking about you talked about the Jetsons earlier, right? But I
Mhm.
don't really think we have somebody that's like loud and speaking about it and like can really see themselves doing this for a very long time as telehealth and telemedicine evolves. And you
Mhm.
could be that person that specializes within that, or work
Mhm.
with Christine and learn from her and
Yeah.
then go off and do whatever. But I just want to go to the comments really quick because you had some great gems, I like to call them. So you talked about the transferable skills in regards to the resumes. That's going to be a
Mhm.
snippet. So I'm just letting you know as a heads up. Denise also shared that the stay-at-home moms are invaluable, and she had another comment about that. So
Yep.
that's a great perspective because a lot of people may not think, well, I was a stay-at-home mom or dad, and how can I use that as to I'm really good in terms of what I'm doing? Like no, like my wife, God bless her, like all the things that she does, or when I lose my patience and she puts in a little extra effort, and my son does like 10 pages of his homework, I couldn't even get him to do like two problems. Like that is a skill. Like, hey, I can work with like hard doctors because I can get my son to do
Mhm.
homework at 9 o'clock at night. Then like that can be something, tell a story. Hey, what happened to
She
Bertram? Hey,
needs to come out with us as we do provider education and see if she can work that magic with our providers sometimes.
Yep. Somebody did mention, Chrissy mentioned that she has experienced mental health services from home and it was life changing for her. Thank you for sharing. You didn't need to do that, but we really do appreciate you. Jeanette had a comment about PDD Combs. Hey, innocent until proven guilty, but is perfectly fine. Maud has commented, great information as always. Thank you from Denise. Victoria says that I feel that I had one person in the industry I met at least a dozen times, and I don't think he remembers me at all. Aw, sorry to hear that.
Bertram, have you not met
Um,
my good friend Victoria?
no, no, no,
Victoria
no, no.
Bertram, Bertram Victoria.
No,
There
no,
you go.
no. She's not talking about me. She
Kidding.
was
I'm
our
just kidding.
first guest on the roundup.
I'm just kidding.
And we have Jessica. Jessica has been an avid follower of the roundup. Thank you so much. So, a question from the audience: how would you go about getting specialized in telehealth medical coding? What could somebody do in terms of like trying their best to learn and dive in as deep as possible. Um,
Well,
Christine
I
has
know.
less than 5 minutes, so
Okay, I can tell you. There are a few organizations out there that are developing curriculum on telehealth. So, Leticia, why don't you
ooh,
reach out to me, send me an email, and I can hook you up with these organizations that are providing this specialized education on telehealth, uh, billing, coding, reimbursement, the wonderful world of telehealth.
yeah. Hey, perhaps we can see something in the near future with the APC or HEMA on like a certified telehealth coding professional, something like that. Hey, you know
Maybe.
what? People like Christine work with these organizations. They would usually tap on them when they're thinking about these things and what it should entail. I'm not saying that she's doing it, but I'm also
Mm-mm.
not denying she's doing it. So that's between the
We
two
can
of you.
neither
But you know
confirm
what?
nor deny.
Exactly. But reach out to her. She'll be able to tell you, Christine, I gotta let you go because you have a
Yes,
hard stop. Thank you again. We ran out of time. I knew we were gonna do that, but
it's
really
okay,
appreciate you
but we had a
today.
great time. Thank you for inviting me on to the Roundup. This is amazing.
All right,
Thank
you'll
you
be
for
on season
everything that
2.
you do.
Well, we're trying. And thank you. We appreciate you. Have a good one. Bye-bye. Yeah, so she has a hard stop because I believe she has a client meeting coming up, but we'll continue with the roundup. How powerful is that? You know, I'm taking notes just to show you. I'm taking notes, my chicken scratch, because note takers they dominate the workforce. You can take notes, you can be a manager or director just from taking notes. So take notes, review them, have action items from those notes. It is fantastic. All right. So let's jump into the jobs and opportunities. Oh my goodness, here it is again. What is Renown Talent and Bertram? What are they doing? They have an entry level certified medical coding position, no experience required, job posted. This is on renowntalent.com/careers. This is for a future posting and more information about this job to come in the month of late April, if not by May. So I cannot share any information at this time. If you have applied to this position already, you are an OG. You're going to get probably first opportunity at this, but this is for a future job post as to what Renown is doing. We're talking about a whole different service line, and I believe that this is going to change the industry. The behemoths and these guys that keep on asking for 3.5 years, whatever, of experience for everything that they're doing, they're going to be shaking their boots. Listen to me. You heard this on the roundup. Bertram's not just here talking to people because he has free time on Wednesdays at noon. I actually don't really have much free time, but we have to get the word out and we need to start calling people up. If you are here from a staffing vendor, you heard it from me directly. You guys are going to be shaking your boots come May. Your summer is going to be busy because Bertram and Renowned Talent, we're going to be bringing the heat. Some more details to come on that a little bit later. Cool. So these are small. I will put myself as small as possible so you can see this. So reach out to Annette if you are a CDI specialist. So this is Annette Duva, Duva, MBA. So reach out to her. We have Darius. He is looking for an Epic analyst. So I know some folks have more of that IT background. So if this may be a good opportunity for you, please reach out to them. We have here, oh, here you go. I need to move myself again just for a minute. With Angela Martinez, she's looking for a business analyst. And Jody Lawrence, she's also looking for a physician coding review specialist for primary care. So these might be great opportunities for you. Please reach out to them. Tell them that you heard about these jobs on the roundup from Bertram. That might help you. That might not help you. I don't know. But just let them know where you heard her from. What is a roundup? There you go. Tell a story. Hey, I learned about this in telemedicine. Wow, what does this guy do? He's a former recruiter, owns a staffing company. They're gonna be changing the game like in a few weeks. Yes, cool. Have a discussion, have a story, let them learn more about you. That's really the key to getting a lot of jobs these days. So the Ask Mr. B question for this week, this is one that I got this morning. Hey Bertram, thank you for getting back to me. Seek a new job opportunity in coding. Appreciate your guidance. She has her CPC, okay, but she has 10 years of patient care in an inpatient rehab medical center as an occupational therapy assistant. Goal, transition out of patient care into medical coding. How would you do this? Okay. And what I love to do, I love to make this into a snippet. So snippets for me have to be less than 60 seconds. And I'm going to put my timer so it can keep me honest. Okay. How would Bertram if I worked at a facility, but I had my coding credential, but had no experience, how would I get a job or try to get a job in today's market? Okay, here we go. First thing that I would do, I would work with or find out whoever at my current facility works within revenue cycle. I would even check with the business office because, as you just heard from Christine, in the business office, they'll have billers. They may even have certified coders. And these people that may not even be credentialed within billing, they're working within revenue cycle. I would first try to get a job there. Then I'll find out who the coders are or who is a vendor that's outsourced the coding to, try to get a job with them. Okay. And then that would be my internal strategy. Try my best to do that, communicate with them, let them know often that I'm looking for an opportunity, I have my credential, etc., etc. People get sick, people resign, people hate jobs, whatever, managers, people. You're just looking for that first opportunity. Any which way that you can get that experience, get more exposure, can be fantastic. I would also network with people that I know at the facility. Do they happen to know anybody? Or even, let's say, the coders at that facility, do they happen to know anybody that works within revenue cycle at another company? Okay, that's like 58 or so seconds. So that's going to be the first snippet. Second strategy, what I do, I'll go on social media and I'll post often. Hey, it's Bertram. I have my CPC looking for this opportunity. And Rivka did this whenever she would see coding questions online. She answered them as best as she could. She would research them and help assign the codes or code it as she could, best she could with the information that she had. And I would avidly connect with people. I would watch the Roundup. I would get connected with all the speakers on the Roundup, and I would just network as much as I can. And I would also attend as many virtual events as I could as possible from the comfort of my own home. Okay. And then I would have an on-site strategy because we have ghosts. Ghosts are the people that you cannot connect with, and they may even be on LinkedIn, but they're not active on LinkedIn. So how do you connect with these people? Funny thing about these people, you can see them in person. They will go to the conferences. They'll be at the meetings. And then I would also volunteer at my local association. Hey, I'm a new graduate or newly credentialed. I have my CPC or my CPCA or CCA, whatever you have. I have this, but I would love to get more involved, and I'll volunteer my time, taking notes, just doing whatever, working within that chapter, because there are a lot of decision makers that go to those chapter meetings. So my strategy would be 3 approach. I would network, since I'm currently employed at a hospital, with the coders at the facility, outside of the facility, and anyone that they know that works within revenue cycle. Part 2, I'll be on LinkedIn actively, and I'll just comment, share, and also attend as many virtual meetings as I could. And then I would volunteer my time at the local association and just help out any which way I could, again, helping people, because there are a lot of decision makers there. So that's exactly what I would do. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. So the talent showcase, we're going to do this. I think we only have a couple. That's perfectly fine. We have this person. So Ms. Hubbard, she has a CPC. She has 20 years of working in healthcare, in ED coding, auditor, and this is her email. So if you're looking for this kind of person, we do have some recruiters and employers that do watch the Roundup. Please get connected with her. Let's see if we have anybody else. Bertram is the best. Oh, stop it. Come on. Bertram is just a guy. So that's all of the profiles that we have, and that's fantastic. So our next speaking and Roundup event is going to be next week, Wednesday. We're going to have Miss Lady Martinez, and she's going to share her story as how she came into this country as an immigrant and how medical coding not just saved her career, but also how she's been able to help people. And if you're not connected with Lady, you want to do that. She sends so much positivity each and every week. If there's anything that I'd like to say in closing today, is to just keep moving forward. Don't worry about the no's. Don't worry about the people that don't believe in you or the naysayers. If anything, they should be motivation to push you forward to whatever the Creator has called you to do. And remember, it's not about them. It's all about you and the man upstairs. So as I just said, just keep moving forward. I appreciate you for watching. Comment, tell us what you like, what you don't like, and what works for you. And yeah, about those job opportunities I mentioned, more details to come. So it's Bertram. Appreciate you. Have a good and fantastic end of your week. It's Easter weekend. So for those celebrating, happy Easter. And as I said, be renowned or be forgotten. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.